Today, we're jumping straight into the end of the NHL season, a really exciting finish.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going deep on the Florida Panthers and their Stanley Cup win.
Exactly. We're here to unpack your sources on this, look at those key moments, the players who stood out, and, what this all means historically for this team's legacy, which is growing fast.
Mhm.
Our mission really is to dig into how they pulled off this, unprecedented dominance and see what surprising connections the material you sent in actually reveals.
It really is more than just, another cup win. It feels bigger. It's a story of smart strategy, some incredible individual plays,
Yeah.
and a team that, let's be honest, kind of defied what people thought they could do again.
Right.
We've got some fascinating details, some historical context that really paints a picture of how this dynasty was built, like right in front of us.
Okay, let's get into it then. What are the sources telling us about this win? Second year in a row, Florida Panthers beat the Edmonton Oilers for the Stanley Cup.
Yep, back to back. And this time, a pretty decisive 5-1 win in game 6.
On home ice, too.
Right, on home ice, which is interesting because both times, both cups came against the Oilers. Last year was that really tight 7-game series.
Nail biter.
Exactly. This year wrapped up in 6.
So, looking at the bigger picture now, 3 straight trips to the Stanley Cup final. Florida's got to be considered a dynasty now, right?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's any debate. They've unequivocally reached that status. And get this, they won this year's cup exactly 357 days after the last one.
Wow.
Doing it at home, avoiding that, 2,500-mile flight back to Edmonton, that must just been pure relief
Oh, you got to think so. Pure emotion for everyone there.
for the players, the fans.
Yeah. You could almost hear that crowd chanting, "We want the cup."
Does the material we have give any insight into like the psychological side of winning it at home, especially after going 7 games last year?
Yeah, it does hint at that. The sources suggest there was this real, palpable sense of relief, but also this massive surge of energy from the crowd.
And in a series where momentum can just swing so fast,
Mhm.
that was probably crucial for closing it out. It kind of solidified their mental game, kept them focused right to the very end.
And speaking of focus, the sources keep mentioning this three-headed monster,
Ah, yeah.
this trio of veteran centers, Sam Reinhart, Brad Marchand, and Sam Bennett. They were the difference makers, it seems. How did they work together so effectively?
Well, digging into that 3-headed monster idea, the sources really break down how their individual skills kind of mesh together. So take Sam Bennett.
Okay.
He won the Conn Smythe, right?
Yeah.
MVP of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Led the league with 15 goals, 22 points total.
Impressive numbers.
For sure. But it wasn't just the scoring. The sources highlight how his physical presence, his puck retrieval, it just opened up so much space for his line mates and others.
Creates opportunities. And then game 6, the clincher. The material makes it pretty clear that was Sam Reinhart's night.
Oh, absolutely. His night.
He didn't just score, it points to this moment of just pure skill. Got the scoring started in the first period.
Yeah, I remember that goal.
Took the puck, quick cut behind the defenseman, top shelf over the goalie's shoulder while falling down.
Just incredible. A highlight reel goal for sure. We'll be seeing that one for years.
Definitely. And then Matthew Tkachuk made it 2-0 later in the first with that long wrister.
And Reinhardt wasn't done. Not even close. He scored again late in the second, right?
Yep.
Used his skate, kind of redirected a pass from Barkov past Skinner.
Deft touch.
Very deft. And then in the third, game's pretty much decided. Edmonton pulls their goalie.
And Reinhardt takes advantage.
Big time. Empty netter for the hat trick, then another one for good measure. Made it 5-0. Just wow.
4 goals in a cup clinching game. That feels, that's almost mythical territory, isn't it? What does the material say about how rare that is, especially in a final?
It's extraordinarily rare. That performance brought his total for the series to 7 goals, which led the team.
7 goals in the final series alone.
Yeah. And here's a detail from the sources that really puts it into perspective. Reinhardt's the first player to score 7 goals in a Stanley Cup final since, wait for it, Wayne Gretzky.
No way.
Yes, way. 40 years ago. 1985.
Wow, that's staggering company to be in. It shows just a level of offensive dominance you hardly ever see in today's
It's
playoff.
absolutely elite.
So that brings up this whole offensive power thing. This 3-headed monster, Reinhart with 7 goals, Marchand with 6, Bennett with 5. They became only the second trio of teammates ever to each score 5 or more goals in a Stanley Cup Final series.
That's right. A truly monumental achievement. Think about that offensive depth.
Who was the other team?
You have to go way back. The 1955 Detroit Red Wings, anchored by Gordie Howe.
Wow, 7 decades ago.
Exactly. So it shows you it's not just about having brilliant individuals, right? It's also about the strategy, the coaching, the system that allows these guys to break through top defenses consistently. It's that synergy.
Okay, so while the forwards were, lighting the lamp like crazy,
Yeah.
let's not forget the guy in net, Bob. Sir Guy Bobrovsky.
Can't forget Bob.
Absolute rock back there. He backstopped last year's win, started every single game this
Yeah,
postseason,
they have a little stamina.
and made 28 saves in that final game. Edmonton's only goal came super late, basically garbage time.
And his consistency, it wasn't just about the raw save numbers. Your sources point out how calm he stayed,
Yeah.
especially under pressure. When Edmonton made a push, he didn't let the team lose momentum. Like this quiet leadership, managing the emotional swings. That's subtle, but so critical for staying excellent over a long run.
Right. And beyond the scoring and the saves, there was that defensive system too. Disciplined, really stifled Edmonton's power play, didn't it?
Oh, totally. That was maybe the unsung hero of their success.
Mhm.
Shutting down McDavid and Dre Seidel on the power play, that allowed their own offense to take control. It was a bedrock.
That kind of deeper strategic insight is exactly what this deep dive is about. It's not just the stats. And hearing from the players themselves adds another layer, right? Brad Marchand, veteran guy, won the cup way back in 2011 with Boston, picked up at the deadline. He sounded pretty overjoyed to lift it again after 14 years.
Yeah, he did. And there's a quote here from the sources. He said, "Everybody wrote us off from the start of the playoffs.
I remember that sentiment.
They had everybody beating us in every round, and we just had that fire and knew we had something special. It's incredible to be part of this group right now."
That really speaks to the mental side, doesn't it? The grind of trying to repeat. It's not just physical.
Not at all. It's fighting complacency, fighting the narrative.
Yeah.
His words show how they use that doubt as fuel.
That fire, yeah. And Reinhardt kind of echoed that, talking about winning back to back. He said, it's not easy coming back. You know how hard it is to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that benefits you and sometimes that doesn't. We just stuck with it. A lot has to go your way. And we were up for the task again.
Sticking with it. That's the key.
And Chikakis was even more direct, just flat out said, we are a dynasty.
Bold statement, but hard to argue at this point.
Right. But this brings up the other side of the coin. The historical context for Edmonton, losing 2 finals in a row.
Tough, really tough for them.
And it extends that other kind of painful streak, doesn't it? It's now been 32 years since a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup.
32 years. Since the Montreal Canadiens in 93? That's a long time for Canada, the birthplace of the sport. A painful reality for Canadian hockey fans, for sure.
Definitely. So, wrapping this up, what does all this mean for you? Listening in, what knowledge have we kind of pulled together today?
We've seen the Florida Panthers grab back-to-back cups, cementing that dynasty status.
Yeah. We saw how individual brilliance like Reinhardt's team effort.
And steady goaltending from Bobrovsky, that veteran presence from Marchand. It all came together.
You created this historic run.
And this deep dive into your sources, it really shows what it takes to not just get to the top, but to stay there under intense pressure.
It wasn't just talent, was it?
No, it was resilience. It was focus, that clear mindset. And honestly, those are qualities that matter way beyond hockey, maybe even in your own challenges, your own pursuits.
It does make you think. We've uncovered this sustained focus, the veteran leadership, that amazing 3-headed monster.
Mhm.
So what does it really take for any group, maybe even for you, not just to reach the top, but to stay there, especially when, like Marchand said, everyone wrote us off?
Yeah.
What does it take to keep that kind of fire burning? Something to consider, maybe how you could ignite that in whatever you're facing.